Hey, we're starting.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening. No matter what time zone you're in, welcome back to Sip&Talk. I'm Sunny.
And I'm Joe. Quick disclaimer to kick things off. We do our absolute best to fact-check everything on this show, but if we have a slip of the tongue today, please bear with us.
We even made a little poster for this. Hey, Sip&Talkers, have you ever gone to a tiny indie coffee shop claiming to have, Starbucks equivalent beans for a third of the price?
Oh, yeah.
Right. You take a sip and think, well, okay, not bad. But then you look at the bottom of the cup and realize they literally copied the official trademarked anti-counterfeit stamp right from the big chain.
Yeah, that's not an equivalent. I mean, that's copying somebody else's manufacturing defects and patent stamps all at once.
Exactly.
But, that analogy perfectly hits the hottest topic in Washington right now. And it involves a massive accusation from U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Fox Business regarding artificial intelligence.
He basically stated that Chinese artificial intelligence companies are mass copying American AI models. And the incredibly embarrassing part for the companies doing the copying is that they got caught precisely because the digital watermarks embedded by our U.S. companies they were directly carried over into their models.
It is the digital equivalent of handing in a stolen term paper and just forgetting to erase the original author's name at the top.
Truly.
This all comes down to a technique called model distillation. It sounds like something you do in a chemistry lab, but in the software world, it's basically taking a massive, heavy, expensive AI model and compressing its knowledge into a smaller, faster one.
Right. It's like a brilliant professor writing a 1,000-page textbook and a student writing a 50-page study guide based entirely on that text.
Exactly.
And writing that 50-page study guide requires access to the original knowledge base. Companies like OpenAI and Anthropic are pointing out that overseas competitors are hooking up automated systems to our models and sending hundreds of millions of API requests.
And for those who don't know, an API is basically a digital waiter.
Yes.
You send a request to a software program, and it brings you back an answer. These competitors are ordering hundreds of millions of items off our menu, tossing them all into a blender, and just reverse engineering the secret recipe.
They are siphoning off the core reasoning, the code, and the underlying logic, using our own extremely expensive compute power.
Which explains why Washington is livid. I mean, Secretary Bessent was very direct, pointing out that while the U.S. supports open source technology, open source does not mean giving a green light to freely hunt our intellectual property.
Right. You cannot build a global market using counterfeit goods.
You can't. So now we were watching this massive regulatory shift. For the last couple of years, the whole strategy was hardware, blocking advanced chips from crossing borders. But now that regulatory net is expanding outward to catch software, algorithms, and the data itself.
And that shift is already splitting the globe into two distinct camps. You could see the physical manifestation of this divide at the recent WAIC, the World AI Conference over in Shanghai.
Oh, right.
The attendee list was basically a geopolitical map. The US, Europe, and Japan were largely absent. Instead, the global South nations from Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America were absolutely front and center.
And the pitch they were getting is radically different from what we offer.
Yeah.
Right now, our national strategy is essentially providing highly regulated, incredibly expensive luxury models.
Yeah, totally.
It is a strategy a lot of analysts are calling Pax Silica, trying to maintain global peace and stability through silicon dominance. Meanwhile, China is showing up to these developing nations with a completely different playbook.
They are offering cheap, open-source models and making sweeping promises to train 5,000 AI talents specifically for those developing economies.
It is an aggressive, highly effective charm offensive.
Very. They're handing over the foundational digital building blocks to countries that simply cannot afford the multi-billion-dollar infrastructure required to run our premium models.
Wait, hold on. Let me just think about the logic here, because it feels a bit self-defeating.
How so?
It's like we spent billions building a 5-star luxury hotel, and someone else just used our blueprints to build budget hostels for the rest of the world. Are our strict export controls and sky-high prices accidentally pushing the entire global South into a fragmented, Beijing-led tech ecosystem?
That's the big question.
Because if they can't afford our tech, and we legally refuse to sell it to them anyway, they have to go somewhere to modernize.
I mean, you just hit on the defining tension of our current tech policy. By locking down our ecosystems so tightly to protect our IP, we are undeniably accelerating the creation of a parallel tech universe.
Wow.
And historically, once an entire hemisphere builds its underlying digital infrastructure on a completely different standard, it is nearly impossible to win those customers back.
And winning customers is the only way to pay for these luxury hotels we keep building. We're talking about staggering sums of money here, CapEx or capital expenditure.
Huge sums.
This is the money companies spend on physical assets like data centers, land, and massive clusters of NVIDIA chips. And right now, looking at the latest big tech earnings, Wall Street is officially demanding to see the ROI.
Oh, patience is definitely running thin. They want the return on investment for all this AI spending. The recent earnings reports from the tech giants capture this anxiety perfectly. Take Alphabet, Google's parent company.
Okay.
On the surface, their numbers were phenomenal. Google Cloud revenue completely crushed estimates, coming in at $24.77 billion.
That is massive.
Right. That is an 80% growth rate, fueled heavily by AI adoption. Plus, their Gemini AI app now boasts 950 million active users.
Those are crazy numbers, but the market reaction was entirely muted because the cost to achieve those numbers is terrifying. Alphabet's Q2 CapEx was a staggering $44.92 billion.
Yeah, that's just wild.
To put that in perspective, projections show they might spend over $200 billion next year just on infrastructure and compute power. And while they are pouring the GDP of a small country into data centers, their core search revenue, the thing that actually pays the bills, was slightly soft.
Alphabet is trapped in a classic dilemma. They generate incredible free cash flow, but they have to shovel almost all of it right back into the AI furnace just to maintain parity with their rivals.
Right.
But if Alphabet's report caused some anxiety, Tesla's report was undeniably rough.
Oh, Tesla had a brutally tough quarter. Their EPS earnings per share missed badly. But the really alarming metric was their cash flow. Their negative free cash flow hit $1.09 billion.
Oh.
Yeah, for anyone wondering what that means in plain English, it means $1 billion more walked out the front door than came in. They're burning through savings to operate. On top of that, their auto gross margins dropped below 17%.
And in the middle of all that financial bleeding, what investors desperately needed was a lifeline. A concrete update on their AI and robotaxi flywheel. The entire bull case for Tesla's current valuation isn't that they are a car company. It's that they are a robotics and autonomous driving company. But when it came to concrete timelines for those AI breakthroughs, there was mostly silence.
The software and consumer-facing side of AI is clearly facing a reality check. IBM cut its full-year sales outlook because its software and consulting divisions missed expectations.
Right.
But then you look at the hardware guys, the ones building the physical infrastructure. Supermicrocomputer, SMCI, saw their stock soar 20% simply because they announced a massive $60 billion backlog of orders.
That SMCI backlog is incredibly telling. It's like we are building a massive nationwide power grid. The companies manufacturing the high-voltage cables and the transformers are making an absolute fortune right now.
Right, the shovels and pickaxes.
Exactly. But the software companies are the ones trying to figure out how to sell the light bulbs. And consumers just aren't buying them fast enough to justify the cost of the grid.
Which raises a huge red flag for the broader market. We are already seeing investors rotate out of big tech and into value and small cap stocks. Alphabet has the cash flow to support its spending habit today. But what happens if the demand bottleneck bursts? Are we bankrolling a massive AI bubble? Because if these companies are spending $200 billion a year, a subscription to a clever chatbot isn't going to cover the spread.
Well, to cover that spread, AI has to graduate from writing emails and generating images to revolutionizing heavy physical industries. And according to a fascinating new report from Oliver Wyman, that transition is actually happening faster than most people realize.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they call it the industrial AI divide.
The projections here are wild. Connected and smart vehicles are expected to be a $742 billion market by 2030.
Wow.
And this isn't just about a car having a nice touchscreen. It's about edge computing. That means the AI brain is actually inside the physical vehicle, making split-second decisions on the road without needing to ping a server 1,000 miles away.
The real-world utility is skyrocketing in highly pragmatic fields. Take aviation maintenance. The report found that 58% of professionals in that sector say AI is currently meeting or exceeding their expectations.
That is a massive jump from just 20% earlier in the year.
It is.
So what are they actually doing with it?
Predictive maintenance. Instead of replacing an aircraft part because a manual says it's been 10,000 hours, AI models analyze microvibrations and temperature shifts to predict exactly when a specific part will fail before it actually breaks.
That's incredible.
It streamlines global supply chains and keeps planes in the sky longer and safer. Similarly, the defense sector is deploying these localized AI models to coordinate swarms of battlefield drones and process combat data in real time.
Okay, let's bring this down to our daily lives for a second. My car now remembers exactly how I pulled out of my narrow driveway, and it can perfectly back itself into that exact spot when I return.
That is super convenient.
On one hand, I feel like I'm living in the future, and I absolutely love it. But on the other hand, it's honestly terrifying.
Because of the security implications.
Exactly. We just spent the first part of this chat talking about how easy it is for foreign actors to siphon off our code and steal intellectual property through muddled distillation.
Right, the coffee clone?
Yes. If our aviation maintenance, our electrical grids, and the cars sitting in our driveways are all hooked up to these complex models, aren't we just painting a massive bullseye on the physical world?
The attack surface expands exponentially. When a cloud-based chatbot glitches or gets hacked, maybe it spits out a weird poem or it gives you bad code.
Annoying, but fine.
But when an industrial AI gets hacked, a manufacturing plant goes dark, a supply chain halts, or a defense drone goes rogue. Integrating AI into heavy industry demands a level of physical cybersecurity that the tech world just hasn't historically had to deal with.
And speaking of defense drones and physical vulnerabilities, we have to look at the escalating physical conflicts happening right now, because those global tensions are directly hitting our wallets. The situation in the Middle East is reaching a boiling point.
It really is. The cycle of retaliation is accelerating. We are looking at 11 to 12 consecutive days of U.S. strikes against targets in Iran.
And the rhetoric surrounding these strikes is getting heavier. Trump recently stated that for every ship attacked in the region, the U.S. would bomb a power plant or a bridge.
Yeah, that was intense.
He specifically called out Pickaxe Mountain, referring to the underground tunnels where Iranian nuclear centrifuges are reportedly hidden.
Threatening civilian infrastructure like bridges or signaling the intent to bunker bust a nuclear enrichment site represents a significant rhetorical escalation, and the adversaries in the region are proving they still have reach. Houthi rebels recently targeted 2 Saudi oil tankers in the Red Sea, demonstrating their ongoing capability to disrupt major global shipping choke points.
And whenever a shipping choke point gets threatened, we feel it instantly at the pump. Because of this instability, Brent crude oil briefly spiked to $95 a barrel. But the number that really matters for the broader economy is diesel.
Oh, absolutely.
Diesel prices are climbing over $5 a gallon, and that is a major problem for inflation.
Diesel is the silent engine of the global economy. I mean, almost everything you buy at a grocery store gets delivered on a diesel truck. Tractors run on diesel, cargo ships run on diesel.
Exactly.
When diesel goes up, the price of a head of lettuce goes up. And the supply is getting squeezed even tighter because Russia just banned its own diesel exports to stabilize their domestic market, which pulls a massive amount of fuel out of the global supply chain.
It is a perfect recipe for sticky inflation. Amid all of this regional chaos, there was also a major, somewhat controversial diplomatic development. The U.S. just approved a civilian nuclear enrichment sharing program with Saudi Arabia.
The strategic logic from Washington is that sharing this civilian nuclear technology cements Saudi Arabia as a core U.S. ally, right? And keeps them from turning to China or Russia to build their energy infrastructure.
Sure.
But critics are pointing out the obvious risk. Introducing advanced nuclear enrichment capabilities into a region that is currently experiencing daily drone strikes and naval attacks is a massive gamble.
A massive gamble indeed. And while all this geopolitical maneuvering is happening overseas, the contrast with what is happening back home on Capitol Hill is, well, it's pretty stark.
Yeah.
The House just passed a massive defense budget to continue funding the Pentagon's operations, but they paired it with a bipartisan ban on stock trading by lawmakers,
which addresses a long-standing public grievance. For years, members of Congress have legally traded individual stocks while sitting in classified intelligence briefings and voting on the very legislation that moves those markets.
I know our listeners feel this deeply because we are the ones out here paying over $4 a gallon for regular gas, watching our grocery bills climb because of diesel inflation. It leaves an incredibly bitter taste in our mouths when they, the politicians, are actively trading defense and energy stocks, while simultaneously voting on $100 billion military budgets. Are these policies actually making the world safer, or are they just ensuring endless conflict and higher inflation while a select few profit?
It all comes down to trust. When the people authorizing military action and setting energy policy are personally profiting from those sectors, public trust completely evaporates. Passing a stock trading ban is seen as a necessary, long overdue step toward proving that these massive policy decisions are being made for national security and not to pad personal portfolios.
It is about time. We have covered incredible ground today, traversing from the digital theft of AI code all the way to the physical realities of oil tankers and inflation. Before we wrap up, I want to reiterate something crucial to everyone listening. Sip and Talk does not take sides, we do not criticize, and we do not discriminate against any nation, political party, or group.
Our mission here is purely to present these complex facts objectively and empower you to engage in independent, critical thinking.
Yes, and as a quick reminder, any discussion we had today about specific companies like Alphabet or Tesla is purely for informational and data purposes. It is not professional investment advice.
Exactly. Knowledge is only powerful when you can analyze the mechanics behind it without a partisan filter.
Now, to send you off, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over. We talk about how AI is graduating from the cloud and moving into physical industries, our cars, our aviation, and our defense logistics. And we also explored how overseas competitors are using model distillation to silently siphon off the core logic of our top-tier software.
Right.
So what happens when an adversary uses that exact same technique, not just to clone a clever chatbot, but to quietly reverse engineer and hack the AI infrastructure that controls our physical, real-world electrical grids?
It takes the concept of a counterfeit product from a frustrating digital nuisance to a genuine, real-world physical threat.
Something that will definitely make you look at your self-parking car a little differently tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for joining us today on Sip and Talk. We love having you at the table with us. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a conversation.
And a huge shout out to our good friend Mickey. Make sure you head over to his YouTube channel, Mickey to Life, to check out all his amazing new travel vlogs.
You definitely won't regret it. Stay curious, stay critical, and we will catch you next time.